Good morning. Rise in freedom. Hey, the audio's working. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. It's Monday, the 3rd of June. Looking fine, feeling fine. It's the Wake Up America show. Are we ready to rise in freedom or what? Couldn't you use a little bit more liberty in your life? Glad and thankful to have you here. For our show regulars, I think you know what to do. You smash the like, and you take a seat and grab yourself a little bit of refreshing Wake Up America show go-go juice. You know, the delicious founding flavors over at apforlibertyshop.com. All right, let's set up the show before we get to the order of business, and that is President from Prison. Donald Trump is now the very first president to run for president on a major party ticket as a convicted felon. Been watching The Sopranos a lot lately, so I'm just like, you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That's what they say. Just something happens, you know. It's kind of like that word, you know, shit happens, right? It's the Sopranos version. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? All right, wise guys. We're going to talk to John Miltimore about that at 7:30 a.m. Central Time, Mondays with Miltimore. About that. In another story, Dr. Anthony Fauci confessed that he made up the COVID rules, including the 6 feet social distancing and masking kids. Yeah, you know, you had to know somebody was just kind of like, grabbing a dart and throwing it at the wall and saying, all right, this policy, that sounds good, right? It was all just made up gobbledygook. As Norm Macdonald would say.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Exactly, right? It was a bunch of commie gobbledygook. He said that he doesn't know where the 6 foot social distancing rule came from. He also said he was unaware of studies recommending masks for kids.
How dare you?
Thank you, Dr. Fauci. Well, we're going to talk to Lori Loughlin is so hot, says Liberty Shindig, also a felon. That's true. As for those who like to know what the music video is that played at the beginning, that was a song by Midnight Synthwave Style. And the movie was It Happened Last Night or something about last night. It was, where did AP for the night before, was starring Keanu Reeves and Lori Loughlin. Also a felon. Yeah. Not Keanu. Keanu can do no wrong. We're going to talk to John Miltimore about the president from prison story. We're also going to talk to him about the Anthony Fauci story. So at 7:30 a.m. Central Time, so about a half an hour from now, we'll hear from John Miltimore on those stories. At 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to have, for her very first time appearing on this show, Courtney Conover. She's been joining us in the chat for the last couple of weeks. She recently popped up on my radar with some of the commentary that she's made about the Libertarian Party's presidential candidate, Chase Oliver. She wrote an article on her Substack titled "The Death of the Fall of the Libertarian Party, the Chase Oliver Left Infiltration." We're going to hear from her this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. It'll be interesting to hear her take on this one, where she talks about why she thinks that the Libertarian Party has sealed its fate. Will this be the last election that you can vote for a Libertarian Party candidate? Will this mean the folding of the party? There's a lot of breaking news around this story because the chair of the Libertarian National Committee, Angela McArdle, has committed to holding Donald Trump to his promises, which, in order to hold him to his promises, means that they'd have to vote for Donald Trump instead of their own candidate. And Angela McArdle has been tweeting very cryptic tweets, things like, oh, the one that I retweeted this morning. What did she say? She said, something about the backlash. Here it is. There has been tremendous backlash in response to the LP national nominee. She says she's going to address it today on a live stream. So keep an eye on what Angela McArdle is going to say. She tweeted this 8 hours ago. This could be a big story, and we're definitely going to be tracking it this morning. Courtney Conover joins us at 8 a.m. Central Time, so a little bit less than an hour from now. We'll talk about why Courtney is writing that the Libertarian Party has sealed its fate with the nomination of Chase Oliver. It's going to be a fantastic show today. New guests, great topics. We're on top of the news. What you hear now, you will hear 2 days later on Fox News and tomorrow on the Megyn Kelly Show, because the Wake Up America Show, of course, are we not always ahead of the news? We always are. 324 people joining us live on Rumble. Hey, everybody. Yeah. Nice to see you. Welcome. You're in the right place among friends. And if you enjoy the content that you're viewing today, make sure that you hit that follow button and join us live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. You can join the Wake Up America Show crew, hang out with us. We're all chatting over at rumble.com, and we're having an absolute blast. So make sure that you click that follow button before you leave today. And if you'd like to have your voice heard on the show, you can text us anytime, night or day. That number that you see at the bottom of your screen, I got like my buddy Fred. He's texting me on the weekends. We've got people from all over the country sending us texts there at any time, night or day. You can see it on your screen there at the bottom. 573-319-1586 is the text line. You can send us a text again anytime, night or day. We'd love to hear from you. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, what are we talking about and who are we talking to? Today's going to be fun. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, this is more of a Missouri-centric kind of a story, but I think that it does have some national implications. We talk about, ways to build coalitions for liberty. Brandon Wilkinson, who many of you know from my U.S. Senate campaign days, he's a guy here in Missouri who's always wearing the MAGA hat, and he has a custom suit that says, "Let's go, Brandon." Well, he's got a major announcement to make today at 8:30 a.m. Central on on our show, and I'm excited to have him on today to talk about it. He'll be joining us at 8:30 a.m. today. You definitely don't want to miss this. We're going to have a lot of fun, especially for the Midwest Missouri folk people. But trust me, I know it's the Wake Up America Show, national news. We will, of course, talk about things that are relevant to you if you're not in the state of Missouri. So don't worry about it. We've got GF Johnson says, "Morning AP, my new favorite show." Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. God bless America.
From now on, it's going to be...
What's that?
America first, okay? America first.
Yes, America first. America first. Well, we're glad to have you here, Mr. Johnson, or Mrs. Johnson. Can't tell. Don't want to assume your gender now, do we? Wouldn't want to be guilty of that. What are we, Libertarian Party presidential candidates? And Bruce Birtwhistle says, "I believe Picasso was let loose on Austin's shirt." Something was let loose all over my shirt.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm going to come.
There's Mommy says, "Is it my screen or is AP going a bit gray?" No, it's true. I'm 43 years old, but I am having my very first baby. So get those Rumble rants in. Help support a freedom-loving family. And guess what? Today, the bonus content is back, baby, and better than ever. We've got a whole theme for this week. We took a week's hiatus so I could cover all the insanely breaking news that was happening last week, but I'm back on the bonus content. So if you would like to see today's mini documentary and find out what the theme of the week will be, get those Rumble Rant donations in as soon as possible, because the sooner you do, the fewer commercials you have to watch as we transition from one guest to the next. If you raise at least $60 in Rumble Rants, or you make purchases at ap4libertyshop.com during the live stream, if we raise at least $60 in rants or in purchases, then you will get to unlock today's bonus content, and then you find out what the theme is of the week, because we have a theme for each week. The bonus content plays on that theme, and you get a 5-minute mini documentary produced by moi each day, 5 days a week. So the bonus content is back, and I know you love it. Yes. So if you'd like to see that bonus content today, you know what to do. And the good news is, because thanks to Rumble Studio, I can actually now track the Rumble rants much easier. And they do pop up on the screen as well. Isn't that cool? Look at that. See that little green bar that flew up there? I'm just loving the new Rumble Studio. So thank you to Rumble for rocking that out for us. We appreciate that very much. And of course, click the like button and follow as well. So yes, we have raised $10 towards the $50 goal. Shut the door, keep out the devil. Shut the door, keep the devil out the light. Urs Mommy says, "Oh, just wait, AP. When your daughter is a teenager, the grays will be in full force." They're already creeping up on me, Urs.
No! God, please, no!
Yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
Yes. All right. You guys ready to talk about the news? Your boy AP is out here inspiring mainstream media articles. Oh, gosh. Yes. I love it. Yahoo Finance, Jennifer Sieg, wrote an article that was entirely 100% inspired by me, Austin Peterson. Yes, you know, we moving, we shaking, we making the news. She writes the article titled, Trump is a felon, so what? Yes, well, take a look at this right over there. You can see it up on your screen. Trump is a felon, so what? This is the Yahoo Finance article. Trump is a felon, so what? Trump is now the first ever major political party candidate running for office as a convicted felon. And yes, it seems as though Americans will still flock to the polls to give him their vote this fall. You darn right we will. My dad even sent Donald Trump some money the other day, and he gets so tired of all the politicians asking him for money. And honestly, who doesn't? Because if you're on any of their lists, you're on all of their lists, and you get the text messages all day long, and it gets a little bit insane. But the reason why your boy AP inspired this article is because, as you can see, if you go down to this, scroll down here, you can see there's only one tweet that is listed here in the article, and it is your boy AP's. Yes, see, okay? It's me retweeting to Stephen King, talking about another presidential candidate who ran for office while he was in prison during the 1920 election. Eugene Debs was a convicted felon, and he received nearly 3% of the American vote, which at that time was 1 million votes. Of course, smaller population then. And as you can see here, so was Eugene Debs. He ran from prison. AP retweeting Stephen King, and it inspires a whole ding-dang article over at Yahoo News. Yes, I may be going gray, but I feel like I'm in my prime. How about you? Yes, we're going to talk about that with John Miltimore at 7:30 a.m. Central, and I'm interested to hear his take on Trump from prison. He's got a mild case of Trump derangement syndrome, which I like to give my buddies who have Trump derangement syndrome just a little bit of a hard time. So we'll see what he has to say about that, as well as the Anthony Fauci question. But Bill Maher, on his popular show over the weekend, asked his guests what he thought, what they thought would happen if Donald Trump were sent to prison. Would it be a civil war? Here's what they said.
Now, here's the key question. Is he going to go to jail? Would this judge dare do that? And should he? I've heard some people say if his name wasn't Donald Trump, he would definitely get jail time. But sending a former American president to jail, I don't know. That's something I'm asking.
I don't think he goes to jail on a white-collar crime like this. I just don't think that's the sentence. If you look at the sentencing history for crimes like this in Manhattan, I just don't think he gets jail time.
And for some offense, and your point is right. Listen, a lot of people in my
was David Axelrod, former White House director, chief of staff, I think, to Obama.
Don't like it when I say this, but yeah, I think there is something about jailing a former president, especially on something like this, that is, to me, worrisome for our country. And I would really be shocked if this judge gave him a prison sentence for this.
I mean, MAGA Nation will go nuts. I don't know if that's a reason to or not to do something, but they will.
Yeah, but one of the things about this apocalyptic language that you hear from all of these, the Amen chorus, is they really are inviting violence, and that's a big concern of mine. And Trump is completely unrestrained in suggesting that maybe that's appropriate. I mean, he hints that all the time. That's how he got in trouble on January 6th. And he's doing it again because I think he's more desperate now than he was then.
But if they put him in jail, I know it'll happen because the judge's name was Juan.
Yes.
Everything becomes racial in this country. You know, that's partly because of our horrible, despicable racial past, partly because some of that racism lives on in the president, and some of it because the far left makes everything racial. But that's what it's going to be. Civil war in this country, I'm sorry to say, becomes a race war. That's the sad truth about this country. And if they put him in jail, I mean, that's the first thing his supporters are going to say is, oh, that's what it is.
Well, that's the first thing
a black
he will
district attorney, you know, all these people who are the district attorneys, they're black. The judge was not white. This is what it is.
So which team are the Nikki Haley voters on? I got to figure this out.
Well, the Indians probably join with the whites, to be honest, if what they're talking about here. And, it's not like I'm not a conspiracy person, but I'll say this, that the fact that they're talking about this and Bill Maher is saying this is that even the whole this concept of a race war has moved out of the realm of white nationalist fiction. Like, what was the name of that book? Was it it was the Turner Diaries, I believe, back in the 1980s. People used to read and share the Turner Diaries, which were a broadly circulated novel by white nationalists that was predicting a race war in the United States and what would happen if whites were to like suddenly try and take their country back. I may have read the Turner Diaries when I was a kid, but I actually, because I was one of the very first people on the internet, but right when it was starting, I actually used to go and read, because I was always interested in politics as a kid. I used to go and read, what was it called back in the day before it was a Daily Stormer, but it was the white nationalist, the Nazi websites. And it used to be, when it was back, just like messaging boards pretty much. And they had like, they would have like the skull, the Totenkopf, as they're called, the skulls on there. And they were always talking about the Turner Diaries. And I think that it was Timothy McVeigh who was inspired not just by Ruby Ridge, but also by the Turner Diaries. And those were, like, I believe, cited by Timothy McVeigh, as well as the Ruby Ridge, the incident, which, inspired him to do the Oklahoma City bombings. So it's fascinating to hear leftists talk about this. And Bill Maher, the one who brings it up. This is the kind of fever dream that you would read about on the Daily Storm back on, 1994 or whenever it was that that website still existed. But fascinating discussion there. Donald Trump sat down with Fox and Friends over the weekend to talk a little bit about what happened. Take a listen.
For the same thing that you three, I watch you all the time, and same thing that you do. You fight for freedom. You fight for your country. These people are sick. They're sick. They're deranged. I talk about the enemy on the outside and the enemy from within. So you have Russia, you have China. But if you have a smart president, you always handle him quite easily, actually. We have a lot of advantages. But the enemy from within, they are doing damage to this country. They want open borders. They want high interest rates. They now want to quadruple your taxes. Quadruple. All my life I watched politics, and it was always like, politicians want to lower taxes, not quadruple them. There's a whole sickness going on right now. So we're doing really well. It was a tough venue. We tried to get out of the venue. We tried to get out of the judge. But we tried to get out of both. Wouldn't even think about it. So we had maybe the worst area in the whole country for me, in terms of vote. I'm sure if I sat down and explained it to that section of the world, we could probably make progress. But one of the worst sections. And they always bring them in these sections, D.C., there, places where Republicans, not just me, Republicans get like virtually no votes. But the good news is that I think we've set a record beyond all records for fundraising. That's like a poll. And another one just came out just before I got in that we're 6 points higher than we were before.
Yeah, he had raised something like $58 million in the 24 hours after the conviction. Megyn Kelly's show talked a little bit about the appeal process the other day. Take a listen.
Because I know you got all these great guests coming on, but I don't know how many of them have actually been in this exact situation, because it's very unique in New York. So let's say he sentences him to 3 days in jail, 3 months, whatever it is. Immediately, you say to Mershant, Your Honor, and my client be held in the back. So he's got to leave the courtroom once the judge leaves the bench and allow me the opportunity to go to the appellate division. This is the one and only time in the court process in the state of New York you get to pick your judge. So of the 20-some-odd judges in the appellate division, you already have a judge lined up. And you say, Judge, my client's being sentenced at 11 o'clock. I would like to have a tentative appointment with you at 1 p.m. or 1:30. We come over and see you then if there's a period of incarceration. The judge says, yes. You run over there with the prosecutor. You have some paperwork. You have to show the judge at the appellate division your likelihood of success at the appellate level. So you can't go in there with some frivolous document. You can't say, oh, he's president, you can't do this. You have to say, Judge, look at these unique circumstances, never done before. You cannot let this guy go to jail for 3 minutes, let alone 3 days, because by the time his appeal gets perfected, there's no redress. He can't get those 3 days back. And more likely than not, under those circumstances, because you get to pick the judge who's going to be a reasonable judge, the judge will stay the prison time until the appeal is over. So this jail time thing will get put on the side until the appeal is totally perfected. And if he loses the appeal at both the appellate division and the Court of Appeals, if they allow him to go up there, then he would have to do his 3 days in jail.
And there'd be good.
And could he appeal to the Court of Appeals right away if the appellate division? Like, let's say the appellate division judge says you don't have to do the jail time. Can the prosecutor take it up to the Court of Appeals right away?
No. If the appellate division, he has no redress after that. Trump does. If the appellate division denies him and says you got to do the 3 days, he cannot go to the Court of Appeals. I don't see a way for him to go to the federal court. That's just done. But if the judge does say you don't have to do the jail time right now until the appeal is over, there's nowhere for the prosecutor to go. And if he loses his overall appeal at the appellate division, it is not automatic that he gets to go to the Court of Appeals. Either a Court of Appeals judge has to invite him up, or if there's a lower court judge who's in the dissent, that lower court judge can send him up.
Unbelievable. So what he thinks is most likely is that Trump may end up spending 3 days in jail. Of course, there is a probation question there at all. And if this moves its way up to the Supreme Court and Donald Trump is elected, I think that the likelihood that the Supreme Court will put a stay on the president serving any days in jail until after the election, that's the most likely scenario that we might be looking at. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. It's nice to see 900 people joining us live over at rumble.com. Good morning, everyone. Happy to have you here. I'm Austin Peterson, the host of the Wake Up America show, and we stream this show live every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So make sure that you click that like and follow button if you'd like to be able to find us again. I'm AP for Liberty on Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, X, pretty much everywhere, although who uses Facebook anymore? I was talking about that this weekend, and it's just a ghost town over there. And frankly, I don't even like logging on. I only have it so that I can manage my Instagram account and do a bunch of other business stuff. But for the most part, staying away from that platform. These days, we hang out on Rumble. We stand Rumble, and we invest in Rumble. In Rumble, we trust. God bless Rumble. And I'm sure that because of rumble.com, that's the reason why we've got so many live viewers this morning. They're directing you our way. So do us a favor and click that follow button. It helps us to grow our channel. And of course, it helps rumble.com as well. The more you interact here. And of course, those Rumble rants, like my buddy Quest Fanning donated. Thank you, Quest. He wants to unlock that bonus content today. He says, for all of the rhetoric about such, there is very little actual right-wing political violence. Meanwhile, the left openly riots and elected officials refuse to enforce laws, the most basic of their duties. I'm not sure if the right is even capable of, quote, overreaction. Thank you very much, Quest, for those donations. Remember this, that the bonus content gets unlocked when we either raise $60 in Rumble rants, when people like Drummer Goy drop in $5 and says, the clown car is picking up passengers on the way to the Democrat and Republican conventions. Yeah. So if we raise at least $60, or if you make enough purchases at apforlibertyshop.com, which I highly recommend you do. Did you see the new Javier Milei shirt that we made? Less Marks, More Mises. Javier Milei actually shared it on his X account over the weekend. The Less Marks, More Mises shirt. I'll pull it up for you here real quick. But I highly recommend that you head over there and get one of these today. These are flying off of the shelves. Our Less Marks, More Mises, Less Marks, More Milei shirts. Why do I keep saying Mises? That's another meme that's been going around. But we made a Less Marks, More Milei shirt over there. Viva la libertad, carajo. So head on over to apforlibertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, apforlibertyshop.com. If you go to apforlibertyshop.com And if you guys get enough, if we raise at least $60 in shop sales or in Rumble Rant donations, then you guys will get to unlock today's bonus content, which I know you want to see. So do it. Head on over to ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. We appreciate you guys. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to go talk to John Miltimore. Don't go away. I'm going to go to a very quick little commercial break. But you don't have to watch commercials, because if we hit the $60 Rumble Rants, then you get to watch the documentary instead of the commercials. So get those Rumble Rant donations in today as soon as possible so we can get rid of these commercials and you guys can just watch the fun stuff. We'll talk to John Miltimore about President from Prison, as well as Fauci Live when we get back on the Wake Up America Show and wakeupAmericaShow.com.
The Cantina crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Glad and thankful to have you here. What's up, everybody? Rise and freedom. We're having so much fun here on the Wake Up America Show. I was just talking to my buddy John Miltimore. He's going to join us in just a moment to talk about Donald Trump as president from prison and Anthony Fauci lied. People died. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a moment. But I have to say thank you to Rumble.com for featuring us on the front page today so that we can view and hang out with 1,000 people this morning live. I'm so grateful. And I'm very appreciative because Rumble Studio not only is saving this show money. I used to have to pay a lot of money to be able to multi-stream this. No more. I got rid of that old software. Now they've given me Rumble Studio. And not only do I not have to pay to multi-stream, but they've got an incredible new aspect of Rumble Studio Live that's going to help us to build not only the Wake Up America show, but more incredible content coming in the future, because we'll be able to afford to produce it, even with a baby on the way. Today, Stephanie's hustling and homemaking video is going to debut live at 9:05. So make sure that you watch that this morning here at rumble.com or on any of the fine video platforms where you follow me, AP for Liberty. But Austin, what are you talking about when you say that they've created this new revenue stream for you? Well, let me tell you a little bit about my friends, the roof contractors down there in Florida, who are looking for a great way to get in contact with you, because Rumble Studio has granted me the opportunity to talk about our friends down in Florida who say whether you have a tile roof, shingle roof, flat roof, or TPO roof, they can help. They service all roof types and offer a wide range of roofing services, including roof leak repair, new roof installation, and roof replacement. And with 100% financing available, there's no need to break the bank to get the roofing services you need at Bellcast Construction, LLC. Remember that name. They understand that your roof is an investment, and they want to make sure that you get the most out of it. They're licensed and insured, and they offer a warranty on all their work. And best of all, they offer free estimates, so you can get a clear idea of what your roofing project will cost before they even begin. Don't let a simple roof leak turn into a new roof. Call them today at 954-822-5868. Write that down. It's 954-822-5868 for all your residential and commercial roofing needs. Their contractors are experienced and licensed, and they guarantee quality work at affordable prices. Contact them today and see why Fort Lauderdale's best affordable roof leak repair company is our friends at Bellcast Construction, LLC. One more time, write that number down, 954-822-5868. There you go. Give it up for Rumble Studio. Look at that. They made it so easy. Grateful to Rumble Studio and all of our friends down there who are shaking it up in Liberty Land down there in Sarasota, Florida. We appreciate them very much for those live reads and commercials. All right. Well, we've engaged in a little bit of capitalism this morning. How about we earn our breakfast? My next guest, John Miltimore, joins us from the Foundation for Economic Education. He's joining us live. It's Mondays with Miltimore to talk about President from prison. Yeah, Eugene Debs, socialist candidate for president of the United States, thrown in jail for protesting World War I, wins 3% of the American vote. John, it's not unprecedented, right?
No, it's not. You know, it's funny. I have an article coming out this morning at the Washington Examiner on Debs. And, you know, it kind of is this parallel. We're seeing it. There's a lot of parallels to this World War I period we see today, where the world felt like it was going a little bit crazy back then. We're seeing the same things now. And you know, as bad as this lawfare has been against, you know, Donald Trump, and I think it's been, you know, really crazy. Like any pretext they can find to go after Trump, to impeach him, to prosecute him. It seems like they'll use that. But what they did to Debs in some ways was worse. You know, Debs just gave a speech. You know, the guy was not even a legitimate threat to be president. He gave a speech, and they said he was discouraging, you know, people from, you know, the draft. And if you look at, he was intentionally trying to phrase it. He was careful in how he gave that speech, but he was clearly against the war. And he said, you know, people, the thing that got him on is he said, you know, people should choose if they actually want to go and fight and die in that war. And that was all it took. And Debs served prison time, and his sentence was later commuted by Warren Harding. But it shows that this is not unprecedented, but it is very dangerous. I think we saw that back then. I think Woodrow Wilson was clearly a tyrannical president. And what we're seeing today is equally dangerous.
Yeah, they convicted him under what was called the Espionage Act. He had given speeches, public speeches, opposed to American entry into World War I. It was, you know, a time in the, you know, the height of the progressive era there, when socialism was really making a massive impact on American politics. And the Democrats were kind of looking at the Socialist Party the same way that people like Donald Trump are now looking at the Libertarian Party here and saying 3% if you come with me if you want to win. What are your thoughts on the Donald Trump situation? I mean, what we're talking about here essentially amounts to an accounting error. They railroaded him in a New York courtroom in a situation that, John, there's a saying, they say like a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. And when it comes to what the president's behavior was in terms of impacting the outcome of an election, what we're really talking about here is a question of speech, right? Using money to impact the election. I mean, the federal election laws, these are not in line with libertarian principles. What's your take on Donald Trump being convicted over an accounting error?
I'm not a lawyer, but my first thing is I think everyone agrees this is not going to stand against appeal. There's so many things wrong with this case. Even people I think that are happy to see Trump punished or concede that this is not going to survive on appeal. If you want to read a great article, New York Magazine, Eli Honig, I think I'm saying his name correctly. He's a legal analyst for CNN. He's not he wrote about all the distortion, gymnastics they had to do to get this conviction. And it's not just that you have people like, Bragg running around campaigning on taking down Donald Trump. The judge in this case was donating, money to a pro-Biden, political committee of some kind. There's so many things wrong with this case. And I think everybody does, even the people that are anti-Trump, I think they see that, which is why you're not hearing a lot of them, talking about this case. You see some people, the real partisan people are out spiking the football on this and saying we got him and everything. And what most people are doing is saying, well, is this going to help or hurt Trump? Like, I think that whole discussion is one, like, we just put a pin in that. We don't know how if it's going to help or hurt. Let's look at the process. Let us look what's been done. And that you're taking a former president of the United States and you're finding any pretext you can to prosecute him. We're using the law to punish, our political opponents. That's exactly what is happening. And if you listen to people, they'll all say, well, nobody is above the law. And okay, I can see that. I get it. Nobody's above the law. At the same time, nobody should be targeted for political, because of their politics. And that is exactly what happened here. And that's what's kind of similar with Debs too. Debs, if you look back, a lot of people were saying things more egregious, about, from the anti-war perspective and the anti-draft perspective than Debs. But he was prominent because he was, a presidential candidate. And so he was prosecuted. We got to be, you don't target your political enemies for crimes. And that's what we're seeing. The only thing, one final point, AP. The one point I think they have is Trump for years had used this lock 'em up rhetoric. Okay, now that was all bark because right after he secured the election in 2016, they asked about Hillary Clinton. The survey, he's like, you know what, that would be too divisive. Like, we're not going to do that. So I think Trump used all this rhetoric, like this populist lock 'em up stuff, and I think it scared the hell out of the left. And they're like, you know what, you want to play that way? We'll play that way. And I think that's what we're seeing. And this is one of the dangers of Trump. He is such a populist loose cannon. I think he sort of uncorked some of this just through his crazy rhetoric that really scared leftists.
Yeah, well, the funny thing was that he was bluffing because as soon as he got elected, he chose not to go after Hillary Clinton. I mean, strategically, from just a survival perspective, I mean, I know you're not going to hear me say this, but from a moral or ethical perspective, put those aside for just a moment. But from just a political survival standpoint, he probably would have been much better served if he had gone ahead and followed up with her and chased her down and gone after all of her convictions and done everything he could to put his political opponents in jail. Because at the end of the day, if he didn't do it, and now it was a mistake because now they're coming after him, his leniency has bit him in the butt.
I don't know. Like they were. Maybe you're right. Like it's a whole. Trying to Monday morning quarterback that is kind of impossible. Maybe, but you're right in this sense. It'd be hard to imagine them coming after him harder than they did. Right.
Because one of our guests, John, one of our guests here, Somnifrum, says, "Is John blaming the victim here?"
I'm saying Trump does bear some responsibility because for years he was kind of using all this populist lock 'em up rhetoric, which I think is dangerous. Okay, like this is sort of what we're seeing today. I don't think people appreciate. I think the right appreciates it right now because it's their guy, right? But we need the left and Democrats to realize that no, this is incredibly dangerous, guys. This is what we see the banana republics do when there's not a peaceful transfer of power, and we're going to actually put our political enemies in
Isn't that
jail and
starting to
prosecute
happen? I
them.
mean, at least anecdotally, John, what we're starting to see are Democrats saying, at least on videos that are coming out and going viral, that this is something that's pushed them over the edge, that they're going to support and vote for Donald Trump. I mean, I know a lot of Libertarian Party members are saying the same thing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to speak at 8 o'clock this morning to Courtney Conover about that topic, about why she thinks that the Libertarian Party has dug its own grave here in this election. But I'd like to move on, John, and ask you a question about Anthony Fauci's comments when it came to the 6 feet social distancing rules that he claims was just made up. He says he doesn't know where those came from. He said that there was never any evidence about masking for kids or many of these rules that he came up with during the pandemic. He said were just pulled from thin air and had no basis in scientific evidence or reasoning, despite being bashed over the head for 2 years and told that we should trust the science. John, your reaction to that?
Well, this is actually old news. I mean, this is something we've known for quite a while. I'm glad that now this testimony is released that shows Fauci saying it. But Francis Collins was admitting this like a year ago. And if you look at these policies, we're like, of course, like we knew back 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that these weren't based in actual science. We knew that they weren't, there was no studies being done that were showing that, oh, these masks on children work, against COVID-19 or social distancing. These were, policies that there was no basis for them. We were trying to get people to understand that. But whenever you did that, you're accused of being anti-science. It's really amazing that the man that was marching around telling everybody, if you oppose me, you oppose the science, today admits that all these things he was recommending did not have a scientific basis. But this is something I learned about Fauci several years ago. At first, I thought this guy was a well-meaning bureaucrat who was kind of like, I get it, global pandemic, a lot of things going on, doing his best to save lives. I no longer believe that about Anthony Fauci. I think Anthony Fauci is a very bad man who doesn't really even have faith in the science himself. He's a bureaucrat. He's interested in covering his own behind for research that was being done at Wuhan that he had funded through EcoHealth Alliance, a $7.5 million grant that they said, oh my gosh, Wuhan now has a virus. We have research that we're funding. We need to get to work. And they had all these deliberations that they were doing. And then they realized, you know what, we can't be having this conversation on our work emails. Let's take it to Gmail and let's delete emails. And that's what today's hearing is going to be about. He's going to have to answer for that. The David Morenz emails show they were actively trying to avoid FOIA. They were deleting email records. They were doing all these things. That's a crime. And some of those, many of those emails, Morenz mentions Fauci. And he says, oh, don't worry, Fauci's deleting emails too. Tony is implicated in this, and he's going to have some very, very tough questions to answer today.
Well, John, any expectation of accountability? Maybe Donald Trump gets elected and, Senator Rand Paul gets to, chair some hearings and something like a Warren Commission for the pandemic. Any kind of accountability that you think might be coming down the pike whatsoever, or do they do what they normally do and just brush it under the rug in a broad bipartisan sweep?
I think right now it's about 50-50. I could see either one happening. I am encouraged. Like, let's put the election aside. I think I will admit, if Trump becomes president, you're much more likely to have accountability on this front. But even that aside, Democrats, I watched those hearings last week with David Morenz. Democrats were outraged too. Okay, like there was enough things communicated in those emails. They see exactly what was being done here. They see that there was basically a conspiracy at NIH to hide the truth, to cover their own behind. They recognize that. Some of the best sound bites came from Democrats that just, cracked the whip on Morenz. So I do think that, putting the election aside, I think there is the possibility for accountability here. But whether it goes up to Fauci, Morenz could be the scapegoat, and Tony Fauci has a lot of power in Washington and a lot of friends. And I think it's going to be real hard for them to stick it to Tony, even when they have really strong evidence that he was really the person leading this effort at NIH to convince the world this was, no, it's just a natural origin, couldn't possibly be a lab leak or anything like that, and then took steps to actually conceal that. But we'll see how today goes. I think we're going to have a lot better answer to that question in 24 hours once we see there's a lot of good questions that Fauci could be asked that would really make him squirm.
If you're just tuning in right now, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. You're listening to our friend John Miltimore from the Foundation for Economic Education. We were talking for a few minutes about Donald Trump potentially governing from jail and how there is actually a precedent for people who are convicted felons in jail to run for president of the United States and receive a lot of votes. We've also been talking a little bit about the potential for accountability for Anthony Fauci, who admitted that he made up many of the COVID protocols like 6 feet distancing, social distancing, and wearing masks, including masks for kids. Thank you very much to all of our listeners who have been supporting with our Rumble rants this morning. We are $1 away from the $60 goal. Andy Opperman says, is anyone going to go straight-faced and say that Hillary wasn't a corrupt criminal? Bonus content next break. Yes, you made the bonus content because Frickety just made that final donation. I want to give John a chance to say anything that he'd like to say before we go or plug. But John, not to just kind of pat ourselves on the back. You were with the Wake Up America show from the very beginning, back when I was in a dirty, dingy, dark bar where on Christmas 2 years ago there was a huge flood and it destroyed all my equipment, and it was kind of like 20, 30 people watching us in the morning and stuff like that. You've been with us from the beginning. Now we've got thousands of people tuning in live to the Wake Up America show. So I got to give a big special shout out because you've been one of our regular guests ever since the very beginning. So thank you for playing a part in our success.
No, I'm happy to see it. Like I've been watching the last week, the Libertarian meltdown. And I'm trying to say, well, which side's more crazy here? Like there's a lot of crazy. And Austin, I want to thank you because you're one of the not crazy voices, and we need more not crazy voices in the libertarian space because watching that whole convention was like it was a clown show in so many ways, the political infighting and things. So glad to see you're having all that success and hopefully, right to the moon with it. Keep going.
Thank you, John. We're going right to the moon, Alice.
Yeah, and as far as that, no, check out. I've had a great week on Substack. Check out my content at the Take on Substack. I've just increased my own list by about 30% because I had some posts go viral, and I write there almost every day. And check out our stuff on fee.org. We got some great pieces coming out this week. Including one I'm excited to share. The Jimmy Lai story. Austin, I don't know if you've been following that, but Jimmy Lai is in prison in China right now because he was basically a guy fighting for freedom in Hong Kong. And it's one of the most overlooked stories, I think. People need to recognize what Jimmy Lai, is going through, and some pressure needs to be put on the Chinese government because they're taking a guy who was just peacefully, opposing the Chinese government, reclaiming Hong Kong basically, and they decided they're going to put him in jail put him in prison, and he's been there for several years now. And if we don't speak up when people are being imprisoned for, just for speaking out against authoritarianism, we have a problem. So that story comes out this week, and check it out.
We'll keep an eye on that, John. John Miltimore from the Foundation for Economic Education. When we first started this show, John, I did invite some people on this program who just ignored me because I think they thought, oh, the audience is too small. Nobody was going to watch this. It's just another podcast. But you were with us from the beginning. So when we go to the moon, we're going to cut you off a nice big chunk of cheese. How's that sound, John?
Amen, brother. I'll take that.
Have a good one. We'll see you next week, John.
Have a great week, Austin. Take care.
There you go. John Miltimore. A great guy. We love Mondays with John Miltimore. Again, he's got a little bit of that Trump derangement syndrome, but that's okay. We like him anyway. C. Royber this morning donated $1. He says, Viva la libertad, carajo! Viva la libertad, carajo! Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Just a reminder, you did unlock that bonus content, so you get to watch the show instead of commercials, which is always fun. Sometimes I'm sneaky about how I do commercials. You didn't know that it was a commercial, or I'm doing what I'm doing right now and talking and promoting about our content that's coming out 9:05 a.m. Central. More hustling and homemaking goodness from my smoking hot, redheaded, libertarian, pregnant wifey, Steffi. She's so beautiful. Trad Wife Story Hour today is the name of the game. Stephanie talks a little bit about reading to your child that is unborn. Does it make sense to read to your child while they're in the womb? Does it make any difference? Well, today we have a little trad wife story hour. If you'd like to watch Stephanie's video, you can see it today going live at 9:05. That's a.m. Central Time. So just adjust for whatever time zone you're in. Trad Wife Story Hour kicks off this morning as soon as this show is over at ap4libertyshop.com. What do you do to watch the show? Well, you go to ap4libertyshop.com and you click to watch. And that will take you to the show this morning. Right after we're over today at 9 a.m., head on over there to AP for Liberty Shop, click to watch, and you guys can watch Stephanie's brand new video from her Hustling and Homemaking series, My Smoking Hot Redheaded Libertarian Wife, Stephanie Peterson. Yes. And while you're there, get yourself a Javier Milei shirt or two.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
What?
What? Do you guys enjoy the Wake Up America show? I know you do. Viva la libertad, carajo. People from all over the world love to watch the Wake Up America show. They even like to watch us over on YouTube, where 22 people are watching us live. Good morning. Hello, YouTubers. Just remember, we are Rumble stands up there. See that Rumble Studio? That's where we're streaming live from this morning. Second week using Rumble Studio, and I gotta say, I love it. I love Rumble Studio. It's nice. It's lovely. It's beautiful. We got one person watching live on Twitch, 3 people over on locals.com, and who knows how many people are over on x.com. Let's take a look. Let's see how many we got over there over on x.com. 645 people. What is this? You guys trying to make the Wake Up America show some kind of like successful libertarian venture and enterprise outside of the elite DC Beltwaytarians who run their own media empires completely funded by outside shadowy dark money organizations, or weirdo libertarians who do drugs live on the stream at 9 p.m. at night? No, we are the early show. We are the liberty lovers who have jobs, who get up early, and who use capitalism and profits to create our own libertarian media empire. We are the Wake Up America show. It's not just the Wake Up America show, is it? We've got Hustling and Homemaking. I've got 3 other podcasts that I have got on the pot right now, and we're working on them, and we're getting the fire turned up, and we're starting to cook a little bit. You're going to let AP cook? You going to let me cook? Huh? You going to let me cook and make more shows? You going to support the Wake Up America show so I can produce more content, more liberty-loving content, so we can save America and truly make America great again? Huh? Is that what you want? Huh? Is that what you want?
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay?
Thank you, Mr.
America
President.
first.
Exactly.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word.
Well, we appreciate you very much. Frickety says, we are the respectable libertarian network of the Wake Up America show. But just because we're respectable doesn't mean we can't have a little bit of fun, right? We love to have fun. We certainly do. All right. Well, it's time to go. Courtney Conover says that the Libertarian Party's candidate, Chase Oliver, is the death of the Libertarian Party. They've dug their own grave. We'll hear from Courtney about that after the bonus content that you all unlocked. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're kicking butt and taking names on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Bonus content for the Wake Up America. Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Hope you enjoyed that bonus content today. Thank you for unlocking it. You're supporting the Wake Up America show with those Rumble Rant donations and purchases from ap4libertyshop.com and helping to grow a brand new Liberty family where my daughter, Hazel Rose, my very first child, will be born in July. And we're absolutely 100% certain that our patriotic baby will be born on the 4th of July. Yes, to fireworks and explosions. Well, maybe not. They actually are predicting July 29th, but who knows? Never know, right? The Wake Up America show brought to you by viewers and listeners just like you. Click that like button, and if you haven't already, the follow button is just right there. Why haven't you pushed it yet? That way you can come back and join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, the Wake Up America show, where we fight for economic freedom and personal liberty. Now, as many of you know, I did run for president of the United States back when I was a young man in the wee heady days of 2016, and I really did have hope at that time that there would be a chance that if there was a viable alternative to the two mainstream party candidates, that the American people would choose to vote for, well, me. Libertarians thought, yeah, Austin, he's a little bit too normal, doesn't want to sell heroin to children, boo, right? Boo, this man. So I said, okay, well, I guess I'll have to make peace with the Republican Party. And I've been there ever since. Well, my next guest, Courtney Conover, she wrote a piece about why she thinks that this year's Libertarian Party candidate, well, might be the worst one they've ever nominated. Is this the death of the Libertarian Party? Joining us now, the author of that column and a new guest on the Wake Up America show, Courtney Conover. Let's give her a round of applause. Good morning, Courtney.
Morning.
Courtney, your premise here that you wrote on your Substack, the title of your piece is
Involved. And my expertise has always been in researching and understanding the general public, as well as studying the background and how the extremist elements are working on both sides. And that, given that I spend most of my days doing that, it helps me to understand where the public is, where the extremists are, and what the problems are between the factions, basically.
So you have some libertarian inklings, but you seem to be not a fan of the type of gender politics that the Libertarian Party's presidential candidate is espousing in terms of transitioning children. He has stopped short at endorsing full-blown genital mutilation, but he has endorsed using hormonal treatment, which could be just as permanent. So, but, you know, people would think that, oh, you have a background with the Green Party, that you might have, you know, more liberal views when it comes to things like this, but you kind of like, you know, you stop short of where Chase Oliver has gone when it comes to the treatment of minors. What's that issue about? Why do you differ with Chase, and how do you think that impacts the ticket?
Well, the reason why that the gays were able to get their you know, all of their rights back in 2016 was because they focused away from children. No matter how many times people tried to place that on them, they said, no, 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 no. We just want to be left alone. Leave us alone. We're going to leave you alone. Let's just have our own rights. Everybody gets the same rights, and you're never going to see us. I promise. We're not going to get in your way. We just want to live. Whereas this new movement has said, no, we're going to talk to your children in schools. We are going to try to transition your children. We are going to give them medications that have been reserved for adults. And they're giving them medications that have been historically used to chemically castrate sexual offenders in prisons. And that is the same drug, Lupron, that they now call a puberty blocker, which does the same thing to children that it does to violent sexual offenders in prisons. And I have, because I come from the left, I have a lot of trans and gay friends, and they are all opposed to all of this. And they speak out. One of my good friends is Buck Angel, who is one of the very prominent voices out there right now, speaking out about how all this is doing is hurting the entire rights movement, because they've already gained every single right that they could possibly need. And now they're asking for special privileges, which is in a totally different league. And once they began telling people that they're coming for the children, quite literally, as of last year's Pride celebrations, when they were chanting it in New York City, it may have been a joke, but in reality, I mean, that's what the leader of that protest, and who is alive and tweets constantly, they have decided that they're going to rewrite history and state that there were trans people at this rally, and even that they had thrown the first brick. And that was factually incorrect. If you read the articles at the time and that had come out in the interviews of both Sylvia and Marsha P. Johnson, these are two people who identified as men who did drag work. Marsha in particular was the drag name of a man named Malcolm. And he admitted that he wasn't even there until 2 a.m. and showed up to see what was going on and left. So he wasn't a part of it at all. And there are so many videos where he, on camera, out of drag, says, I'm a boy. I am a boy. I do drag work. But some people call me a transvestite, but I don't wear that.
But essentially, it sounds as if Chase Oliver has bought into the left's revisionist history, the entire woke playbook of, just like the 1619 Project, of rewriting American history so that it fits the left agenda. Chase Oliver has swallowed hook, line, and sinker. He also is 100% in alignment, with the Green Party when it comes to the question of open borders, not regulated borders, not borders that have strict security and vetting, open borders, which sort of conflicts with his concept of Ellis Island, which would be a security protocol. What's your take on that?
Well, as long as he is talking about open borders, he is specifically discussing the Green Party philosophy that people can come and go as they please, whenever they would like to, without any security. And because that's what open borders truly is. Now, an Ellis Island theory is a totally different thing, where you have to go through security protocols, exactly as you said. They're not the same thing. Where open borders is specifically a Green Party philosophy. And that philosophy is that anybody can come and go as they wish because borders are imaginary and we don't need them. But as we have seen, the influx of immigration has caused massive problems in New York City, in Chicago right now. The Democratic base has been coming out and arguing and complaining with their Democratic elected leaders about all of this going on. Their taxes have been raised, their buildings have been seized so that they can take care of these immigrants. And so having an open borders policy will, in fact, because most people do want to be here, as much as the left argues that we're a terrible country, most people would still rather be here. And that would bring such a massive influx that there's no reason why I can see in reality our taxes would absolutely skyrocket because we would now have to take care of these people. And I don't see the reason why anybody would be behind that.
You stacked up the Green Party's platform and compared it to the Libertarian Party candidate Chase Oliver's platform, and you find that there really aren't many differences other than the Green Party wants to transition to communism, correct?
Correct. He even on certain economic issues, such as raising the minimum wage, he is completely on board with the Green Party. So there is really not much of a difference other than he is a capitalist. And so that aligns with his former party, the Democrats. However, everything else appears to be in line with the Green Party. So it surprises me that he chose the Libertarian Party, unless it was deliberate to move them to the left, because there are people that had come from the left to be in the Libertarian Party. And I think that's where a lot of the problems are coming from, because they're still using the leftist smearing of, oh, well, you're just conservative, you're just MAGA, instead of using actual data, facts, and evidence to argue.
Now, Courtney, I saw over in the chat just a second ago that Somniferum75 says she's great, on my way to find her Substack. Yes, highly recommend. Highly recommend. I'm going to actually drop a link to that in the chat. You'll have to copy and paste it for our listeners there. I'll try and drop it in the show notes after the show if I can remember. But Courtney, you've written an excellent piece here on the Libertarian Party. So where does that leave you? I mean, former Green Party person, liberty leaning. Are you feeling like you're going to get on the Libertarians for Trump train with me this election? I mean, where are you at on this coming election? It is a poop show, I'm sure, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Well, I'm an unaffiliated voter, registered. I don't fall in with anybody's politics. I don't fall in with any of the ideologies that come with the political parties, and I'm generally an anti-party person. I think that we need that if there's going to be a party, it needs to be an open party that is lenient to a lot of different people's values. I right now, I do believe that I will be voting for Trump, and that is because there is so much going on in this country right now that is detrimental, including Biden's decision to decide that Title IX, we women are now a psychological phenomenon. We are no longer a biological phenomenon. You can just be a woman because you said so, and that is it. And that destroys all of the work that the women's movement did in the early 1900s to try to secure any rights that we could have gotten. There is so many things that I cannot get on board with any party. But right now, I think given the options, I would probably, if it wasn't such a dire situation between Trump and Biden right now, I would probably go for RFK. But right now, I think the most viable option would be Trump.
Another one in the can for Libertarians for Trump. Courtney, where can people find out more about your work today? Where can they follow you online?
Well, my Twitter handle is CLConover80, and my Substack is Courtney L. Conover. So you can look me up on those two.
Well, Courtney, you're rather new in our circles, but you're already making a massive splash. I saw Floby Tenderson on there says that she's only been here a few weeks and she's already won an Appeal to Heaven flag, or a Libertarians for Trump flag. I can't remember which it was, but you've already won a flag, and now you're already on the Wake Up America show. So your star is rising fast, Courtney. We're grateful to have you here. It's nice to have you in our circles. Everybody go follow her Substack and follow her over on x.com as well. It's nice to hear a good independent voice on things. Courtney, thanks for getting up so early, being so generous with your time, and we look forward to having you back on again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Courtney Conover. Give her a round of applause. What do you say? Less than 10 minutes until Let's Go Brandon. Brandon Wilkinson joins us live on the Wake Up America show to talk about a new alliance for liberty right here in the state of Missouri. But before we get there, have you guys been following what's going on with the price of gold, lady? It's just lately. It's been going up. And why do you think that is? It's because central banks know something that a lot of people don't. They've been hoarding it like crazy because they think something might be coming around the corner. Something's coming. I don't know what it is, but it is gonna be bad around the corner or whistling down the river. Come on, deliver gold to me. Will it be preserved gold? Maybe just by texting that number, it'll be great. Come on, listeners, come on in. Text Liberty to 50505. Around the corner, you'll have that gold that glimmers. How many singing commercial advertisements made up immediately on the spot do you think that Preserve Gold knew that they were going to get? All right, who's going to be the first person to name the show that song is from? Text the word liberty to 50505. Leonard Bernstein, Kermode Bear. Man, you didn't even just name the show. You went straight to the composer. Will it be? Yes, it will. Maybe just by holding still, it'll be gold. Text that number. Text the word liberty to 50505. Secure your financial freedom today. Ensure that your portfolio has the cornerstone of financial security through our friends over at Preserve Gold. Text the word liberty to 50505. That's liberty to 50505. And if you do text the word liberty to 50505, you will give me a golden shower of liberty. Oh. Okay. Text the word Liberty to 50505. Let them know that you heard about them from the Wake Up America show. They'll send you a free gold and silver information packet on how to invest in gold and silver, and it won't cost you a dime just to find out more information, and you support the Wake Up America show. So let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We're gonna go to commercial break, except there's no commercials. It's the bonus content. Let's get home. When we get back at 8:30, we hear from Let's Go Brandon. Brandon Wilkinson joins us live in 5 on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Bonus content for the Wake Up America show. The right views used for participants and constantly innovating to keep the opposition. Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Hope you're enjoying that bonus content. You should. You unlocked it. Thanks so much for supporting the Wake Up America show. Between the gold commercials, the Rumble Studio commercials, and the bonus content, our freedom-loving family over here is definitely not going to have a problem taking care of baby and keeping her in them Pampers, because and diapers do get expensive. So thank you very much. And of course, a big portion of our funds goes right back into the revolution. At the Wake Up America show, we fight for economic freedom and personal liberty, and we support people and policies that advance those same ideas. Now, you all know that I got elected here in Missouri as a delegate for Donald Trump, and we went to the local convention and the state convention, and there were some shenanigans and some politics, and one man stood with me when no one else would stand for liberty. There was one other voice that would stand up at those conventions for the same ideals that people like you and I hold right now. His name is Brandon Wilkinson, and he's joining us live on the show. Good morning, Brandon. How you doing, brother?
Good morning, Austin. How are you doing today?
All right, brother. I got to give it to you, man, and I want to give you kudos so everybody knows you live here in mid-Missouri with me as well in the same congressional district. You've been a candidate for office multiple times. You've been at the local Missouri Republican delegation conventions. You were there at the state convention, and you were one of the only people with me to stand up for freedom, even when it was something we didn't like, gambling or whatever it was. So I got to say, let's give Brandon credit where it's due. Liberty is not just for things that we agree with. Isn't that right, Brandon?
That's right, and I respected so much that you stood with me when I spoke up and people they weren't necessarily booing, but when I spoke up and said, I'm not really a fan of gambling, but we don't need big government to crack the hammer down on us. We don't need them to enforce our morals on everyone else. That's up to actually relate to us. I'm 38. You're just a few years older than me. Do you feel like you can relate to our prior congressman? I bet you can't. And I'll bet everyone listening throughout the country, whoever your congressman is, whoever your congresswoman is, I'll bet you feel like you can't relate, because we have no offense to anyone serving or anyone who's not. But we have a lot of people who are elderly, who have been in office for far too long. They can't relate to us. And it's, in my opinion, it's disgraceful representation. But anyway, so I did look at the fields prior, and I was just not seeing anyone to support. I supported you, prior to me ever running. And I worked, I helped your campaign as much as I could. And, I just wasn't seeing anyone that could support getting into CD3. So in 2020, I announced, I launched, I said, we're going to lose. It's about building the following. I don't have the money to offset the money that Blaine has. He's the third heaviest funded in all of Congress by PACs and special interests.
So pause for just a moment. So CD3, Congressional District 3, mid-Missouri, that's where we're located right now. And our current congressman who's stepping down is Blaine Luetkemeyer. And that's the race that we're discussing right now. Just want to make sure everybody knows, Brandon. Please continue.
Yes. All right. So I did announce, I launched, I started campaigning, and I did say, we're not going to win. Don't think we are. We're going to lose. I don't have the money. I'm not famous. I'm a regular guy. It's going to take time, but I'm willing to put the legwork out. And we lost. It was a 5-year race. We had way less money than the other 3 challengers. Combined, we got 50% more votes than all of them. Then 22 came along. We had some redistricting going on. There were some delays, some games played, and they finally passed. I believe it was 11 weeks before the election. Now, at the beginning of 22, I did say, don't get your hopes up. We're probably going to lose. Lightning could strike, but don't get your hopes up. And then about, a couple months in, when they still hadn't passed the maps, I said, let's be real. It's not going to happen. We don't even know where to campaign, but we're still going. This is about the future. So I put a lot of time, a lot of effort. I sacrificed a lot. My family sacrificed a lot. I got a son and a wife. My son is 4 years old. I spent a lot of time away from them, a lot of my own money. a lot of my vacation days spent to go to events, so I made the sacrifice. I've talked to tens of thousands of people throughout the district over the last 4 years, so now we're caught up to where we are now. We're in this race. It was me and Blaine. Blaine withdrew, announced he was retiring. I had 10 other people jump into the race. 3 of them have withdrawn, and of the ones remaining, there's only 2 actual, there's 2 real people in the race, and that's Kurt Schaefer and Bob Onder. And then there's Justin Hicks. So what I want to touch on him, and this is something across the country, everyone listening nationwide, this is something that most of you are going to feel just like I do. So Austin, you know that I'm a big advocate for our veterans. I remember in 2018 sitting with you in your campaign bus talking about veterans issues, and they were important to you too. And that was something that mattered to me because my brother, in fact, is a war hero. And he has a Bronze Star for Valor, 2 Purple Hearts, 21 documented combat injuries, 3 years combat deployments. And I saw how he was treated when he was forced into retirement because of combat injuries. And it got me very, very active in helping our veterans. So 2 years ago, Justin Hicks ran for Missouri House. And I really liked what I saw with the guy. He lives about an hour away from me. But I liked what I saw. I never really dug into him. He wasn't going to go ahead.
Brandon, real quick, I've got a little bit of an announcement to make here. I actually set up a little bit of a surprise for you during this announcement. And as you can see from your screen right now, at least you should be able to see, we are joined now by your opposing candidate, former Senator and Dr. Bob Onder. Good morning, Dr. Bob. How are you today?
Good morning, Austin.
Yes,
that's gonna get
thanks
fun.
for joining us. So Brandon was just working his way up to his big announcement. I thought that you might want to be here for it. So Brandon, please, if you don't mind, cut to the chase and make your announcement.
Well, I just mentioned Justin Hicks. I liked him, but then I've seen a bunch of things that I do not like. And as we've gone around campaigning, I'll say this. I'm a little surprised by one of my opponents coming on air here. It got me a little off guard there. But as we've gone around, I'll say no one has worked harder than Bob Onder. I've went to so many events, and of all of the competitors, okay, not just the 2 that are actually campaigning now, but all of them, I've made far more events than any of them combined. And Dr. Onder has made more than me. I've used my vacation days, my personal days to make events. I've actually called out of work a couple times when I couldn't get approved. And every time I showed up, who was there? Dr. Onder. Kurt Schaefer shows up minutes before he's supposed to speak, and he leaves minutes after. Justin Hicks does not bother to show up. I think he's shown up twice now. So let's get to the big bomb. As I've traveled around, I've watched 2 of my opponents continue to change what they say where they go. They've proven themselves to be typical politicians. As I've evaluated this race, and it's really tough for me to do, I've spent 4 years, tens of thousands of dollars, much time away from my family. It's very hard for me to sit here and tell all of you that I am going to have to withdraw from this race for U.S. Congress. But I am happy to say that I finally see someone that I can support, someone that I'm ready and willing to back, someone that I hope all of us will. And that's Dr. Onder. As we've gone around, I've watched my other opponents lie, mislead the voters, the constituents that we were speaking to. And I've watched Dr. Onder go around and he's said the same message everywhere. When people came up to him being confrontational, knowing they would never vote for him, he still gave them the time of day to talk to them. He didn't shift what he said. He didn't pander. He didn't try to manipulate them to get their votes. He stayed honest and true. Now, we've all seen him for many years. Myself.
Brandon, just pause for just a moment. I just want to make sure that our audience knows what's at stake here. So what just happened here, you saw live on the Wake Up America show, Brandon Wilkinson just announced he is dropping out of this congressional race now and endorsing Senator and Dr. Bob Onder, who I've also endorsed as well. He is a strong conservative who fought for our individual liberty during COVID-19. Dr. Bob, if you wouldn't mind responding to that, what do you have to say to Brandon's announcement?
Well, Austin, I am honored, as I was with your endorsement. I am honored. I know how hard Brandon has worked, not just this year, this election cycle, but for the last 4 years, and how much he would really like to represent the people of the 3rd Congressional District in Congress. So this is an enormous sacrifice for Brandon. And I just cannot say how honored I am to have his endorsement and his support, and most of all, his friendship.
Brandon?
Thank you. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. And one of the things that I appreciate most about my 4 years of campaigning, my 5 years of campaigning actually, is that I've actually, because I've been a supporter of yours since 2017. You really caught my back with constitutional carry, and that's when I really started following you. And one of my favorite things, one of the things that I appreciate most of my many years of campaigning is that I've had the opportunity to actually get to know you and meet you and your family, not just you, but your wife, your children. I've met 3 of your children, and they're amazing, amazing young men. And I'm very thankful to have met you. And I
Yeah, that's
really
a
hope
lot
and
of people
pray.
say the same thing about Donald Trump. If you want to understand a candidate, take a look at their family. And Dr. Bob, I actually think that I had contact with one of your children before you and I had met because he was supporting my U.S. Senate campaign
Yeah.
back in 2018.
Yes.
You have a
Yes.
wonderful family. You're running on family values issues. You fought against COVID tyranny when it mattered here in the state of Missouri. And now you're running against what people might say are two rhino Republicans. But on the eve of seeing Donald Trump being convicted and potentially being
Right.
going to jail and having felony convictions being made against him, I think that the cause that you're fighting for now to protect the republic is more important than ever, isn't it, Dr. Bob?
Well, I think it is, Austin, and I think the convictions in this kangaroo third world court sham proceeding on Thursday, it all the more tells us that we need to elect people willing to fight. One of my opponents called him.
Oh, it's way more fun to have a surprise.
Yeah, you got me there. You got me a little off guard. All right. So
very brave thing
you
for
really
you to
got me.
do. Very brave.
You know,
Brandon.
I texted Bob and I told him I was going to come on today, just a little while before I did, and he didn't even say anything to me. So you guys really got me there.
So, anything else on this topic, or on the congressional race? What's at stake here in mid-Missouri, Brandon? Maybe what are your future plans? Let us know what's on your mind before we wrap things up here.
Well, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. First thing we need to do is we need to get Dr. Honored into the Congress. Okay, he needs to be our voice first. Then we'll talk. We'll look at the future. I'll mention stuff there, but I want to talk a little bit more about this race, specifically about two opponents. So I started talking about Justin Hicks. Okay, I liked him when I saw him running 22, but he's proven himself to be a typical politician. And I have to be careful about my wording here because this guy has a history. He's a lawyer. He has a history of suing people who speak out against him. Is that kind of politician we want? Someone who sues anyone who speaks out against him? Any of his detractors? No, that's a crap politician. So here's what I'm going to say. Google Justin Hicks criminal record. It's going to be about 3 links down on Google, but hey, you'll like what you read and you'll say, this is not someone we need in Congress. I'm going to go one further. As we established, I have been a huge supporter and voice for our veterans for a long, long time. Okay. Justin Hicks is a veteran, and I respect that a lot. What I don't respect is what appears to me and what I personally would consider to be stolen valor. This guy, let's make this beautiful. I just, before coming on air, posted to my Facebook page, second largest political following Facebook state of Missouri, top 150, 200 in the country, Brandon Wilkinson for U.S. Congress. Search the @ Brandon, the number 4, Missouri, and you will see I shared a post that Justin Hicks made on Memorial Day saying, and I'm quoting this, as a combat veteran, I understand ... The thing is, we were at this small event about a month ago where each one of us got to speak. And at the end of us speaking, we got to answer some questions. Well, it was a small event, and I guess maybe he looked around and saw there wasn't really any cameras. But the thing is, we're in politics. There's always a camera running. So my camera was about 8 feet off to his right, and I was standing in the center of the back of the room. And when his Q&A came, I raised my hand, and he made a rookie mistake. He called on an opponent to ask a question, and I asked him a very, very important question. I said something right along the lines of, were you in combat? Because he keeps saying he's a combat veteran, but I've seen his records. I will not validate them because they have not been validated to me, so I'm not going to sign off on it, but I've read what is supposedly his records. And I know he hasn't, based on them. So I asked him, and on camera, which he did not realize was happening, he admitted that he has not been in combat. That is on the top of my Facebook page. His post calling himself a combat veteran, with the very first comment being his video of, or my video of him saying he never fought in combat. Then the next post is my video of him saying that. So how do we have people like this running for office? Frauds, as I would consider them, typical politicians, people that I consider, and I mean, I think all of you would look at it and say he's a liar. I think he's a liar. I won't call him that because he'll sue me, and then I spend thousands of dollars to fight his POS. Anyways, all right, let's jump to the next guy because this guy, he ain't worth
tell
anything.
Us okay, so listen, that guy's got no chance. I mean, Kurt Schaefer,
No, he doesn't.
Kurt Schaefer is probably the most legitimate opponent that he faces, but he's not the kind of conservative that Dr. Bob Onder is and doesn't have anywhere near the name ID. So in this race, it looks as if the good guy might actually win, which would be fantastic. But Brandon, I've only got another about minute and a half or so. I want you to tell us what you're going to be doing here soon, what you're up to, and where we can follow you online before we go, okay?
Sounds good. Sorry. Before it's more important, I'm not important. Kurt is. Kurt, this guy's everyone listening. No one in this country likes the fact.
Wife's Story Hour, lovely Steffi. How do you find the video? You go through the gift shop, and as you go, you say hi to Steffi. Her belly is getting ginormous now. It's huge.
How dare you?
And I think it's beautiful. I love it. My lovely, smoking hot, redheaded, pregnant wife. Soon we'll have a little baby. Get to hold it in my arms. And all those purchases you make at apforlibertyshop.com go to help feed the baby and to grow the show, the Wake Up America show. We've got Libertarians for Trump merch. Some of you are like, yay. Some of you are like, if you don't like it, just, scroll on. There's plenty of good stuff for people out there who love liberty, but the Libertarians for Trump merch has been quite popular. We've been selling a lot of our awesome Libertarians for Trump black Gadsden snake with Trump hair, because if you hadn't noticed on the Libertarians for Trump gear, see the Gadsden snake? He's got a whole Trump hairdo on him right there, which I think is quite funny. So exit through the gift shop, get yourself some Less Mark More Malay, and then at 9:05 a.m. Central Time, click that button right there to watch. Join the live feed at 9:05 a.m. with Stephanie's new hustling and homemaking video, which is live in 10 minutes from now. We'll see you there. Go do a little shopping at the gift shop. Get yourself some Libertarians for Trump merch, some Malay merch, and we'll see you guys on the hustling and homemaking video. And then tomorrow here, right at the Wake Up America show, right? It's a great show. We're killing the game on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Bye, guys.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at apforlibertyshop.com. So head to apforlibertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.